What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer, the show where we talk blood sport and we drink beer. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, we got some MMA to talk. I'm not drinking beer tonight because it's a Tuesday and I got to work my day off tomorrow, but we are talking MMA. We're talking GFL. They finally got their announcements out, baby. We got the doubleheader main event going to be happening May 24th and 25th. Going to get into all that for you. Go over the fights. First day's a lot better than the second, but there's some gems mixed all around. If you've watched this program before, you know my feelings on the GFL. You know that I'm not really sold on what they're all about, what their mission is, the team format, and the fighters that should have retired 5 to 10 years ago or 10 to 15 fights ago. I'm looking at you, Marlon Marias, but we're gonna go over this. We're gonna get into all the fights because it's finally been announced. I've been goodness gracious. Been very speculatory on as whether or not they're going to have any events. I really didn't think they would. I can't believe they can afford this one. But yeah, so we have the events, and they're more organized than I was expecting out of the GFL. I'll give them that. A lot more organized. So we're going to have first round, it's going to be Dubai versus Miami, London versus New York, LA versus Sao Paulo. Love it. For the most part, there's a fight or two that's sprinkled in here that's just for the fans' delight, but for the most part, almost everybody's matched up by the team. So we'll just go over the Dubai-Miami matchups first. So on Team Dubai, we got Ray Borg, who's coming in on a 3-fight win streak. 2 of those over in Eagle FC. When I first started doing this show, I was covering Eagle FC, Khabib Nurmagomedov's promotion. And I said Ray Borg is the MVP of that promotion because dude was just going out there and getting the dubs. But he looked good over there. He's getting 3-0, but hasn't fought since 2022. He's only 31 years old. On the comeback, we have Marlon Marias, 38 years old. He's been KO'd in 7 consecutive fights, 9 out of his last 10. Not loving it. Not loving that. You don't want to see that guy fight. He's a cool guy, and he's looked competitive until he gets knocked out every time. But that chin is so gone, it's not funny. And then we have Todd Duffy taking on Rubelis Despain. Rubelis Despain can knock anybody in the world out if his fist touches your chin. He cannot wrestle you, so if you take him down, that's all she wrote. Todd Duffy has fought 3 times in the past 10 years. One of those was a no contest. One's a knockout loss to Frank Mir, and I don't even remember the last one. I think it was 2022, so once in this actual decade of the 2020s. Don't love it. He's probably going to get slept, but it'll be a viral moment for him. They have a guy that's a name like Rubelis Despain. That's cool. And Despain's representing Miami. Duffy's for Dubai. I don't know if I love that. That's kind of weird, but you got to do what you got to do. And the draft, that's how the cards played out. And then we have Alexa Connors versus UFC vet Kat Zingano. I have absolutely no interest in that fight at all. Then we have Kamiyan Tukhtamaradov taking on Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa, he had a rough skid to leave the UFC, but he's undefeated since leaving. And Tukhtamaradov, if I'm saying that right, I don't know much about him. He's 12-5, I think. He's on a 7, somewhere between 5 and 7 fight win streak. But yeah. And then finally for Dubai, we have Alex Oliveira taking on Gleison Tibau. Another fight I don't love. I don't have any interest for. And if this fight was booked 10 years ago when these guys were in the UFC, I would have had zero interest at that point too. Alex Oliveira does not move the needle for me. Cowboy Oliveira. Gleison Tibau gave Khabib his toughest fight, but still no interest. Just a big steroid guy at this point, and he's not that good. Neither of them are that good. One moment, I'll be right back. All right, back. The kids went a little crazy for a second. But yeah, that's what we have for Dubai and Dubai versus Miami. Not the most entertaining, but I'll tell you, London versus New York, it's got a little bit. Really, just one I'm excited about. There could be something fun, but not a ton here. But the main card or the main fight for London versus New York, we have London Anthony Pettis taking on Benson Henderson. I don't know what Anthony Pettis is doing with London, but Love that fight. Trilogy. They fought in Karate Combat earlier last year. I want to say maybe this year. But yeah, trilogy fight. That'll be a good one. Even though Pettis is kind of washed and hit or miss, he comes out in some fights he looks really good. Some fights he looks terrible. And Benson Henderson, I thought he looked really good towards the end of his Bellator run. Been a while since he fought, but he's still got his flexibility, his takedown defense. He's not going to have to use that a ton with Anthony Pettis, I don't think. But that should be a good fight. And then we have Julia Budd versus Holly Holm. That is guaranteed to be a terrible fight. Cage holding, not looking forward to it at all. And then we have 2023 PFL runner-up Amari Akhmedov taking on Derek Brunson. That could be a fun fight. I don't know what Derek Brunson we're going to get. He's pretty durable some fights. He gets knocked out every now and then. Fun wrestler. He's just a donkey kind of a fighter. Just donk. Love it. Amari Akhmedov, he's got a powerful striking. He's actually 185 is a good weight if that's what they're doing. 205 he's a little undersized for, but Derek Brunson's a 185er, so that should be a good fight. Could be just an absolute terrible fight where one guy gets held down the whole time. And then we also have Danny Roberts versus Naaman Gracie. Could be a good fight. Danny Roberts is pretty fun on the feet. Naaman Gracie has some exciting striking, especially his elbows, but he likes to pull guard. I think he's the best Gracie fighter out right now, but it could be a nothing burger, just absolute nothing. A lot of the times these Gracies go out and put on not great performances, but sometimes they put on absolute wars anymore, so you just don't know. It could be a fun one. And then Kelly Staden taking on Marissa Valencia. Again, nothing burger, nothing for me there. So that's what we have in the first day of London versus New York. And then for LA versus Sao Paulo, the final matchup, we have Faber versus Barao 3. Barao has lost his last 10, or 9 of his last 10. I think 7 knockouts or 9. No, I think they're all No, he had some decision losses. He's not like Moraes, but 9 of his last 10. Not looking great. Then we have Chad Mendes taking on Mikey Linares. Chad Mendes still fun. He was fun in BKFC his last fight. He was still competitive towards the end of his UFC run before he retired and came back for the GFL. So that could be a fun one. I don't know a ton about Mikey Linares, but you know, we might have a star brewing. You never know. We don't know what to expect with this GFL. I'm more excited to see some of these guys we know nothing about. I haven't got to do tape study yet. We're still about a month and a half out from the fights, almost 2 months out. So you can bet your ass I'm going to be doing tape study. But we got 62 fighters for this doubleheader, so a lot to get into. And then we have Sage Northcutt, Super Sage Northcutt. He's taking on Lucas Martins. Sage Northcutt's a fun fighter. I don't know anything about Lucas Martins, but should be a fun fight. We'll get to see what is left of Sage Northcutt since that Cosmo Alexandre knockout. He has 1 win since then, a submission, but we just don't know where he's at at this point in his career. Then we have UFC vet Aspen Ladd taking on Alejandra Lara. So what? And then Jessica Pena versus Joyce Mara. So what? Jessica Pena, nothing. I think she was in UFC, and I think she was terrible there. I don't know. It's entertaining names, I guess, with this GFL that we have going on right now, but I'm not loving guys that have lost 9-10 fights in a row or 9 of 10 fights. I don't love seeing guys come back after not fighting in forever. Todd Duffy, who he's only 39, but he was at his prime 10 years ago. He's not the same guy he was. The inactivity is going to be a problem. I'm not loving old fighters, and I get what they're trying to do, what they have to do. They want to make sure that they get names so people will tune in, and that's going to happen for sure, as long as they get this broadcast deal right. I'll get into that in a second. But first, Sunday, it's a lot less intense. I'm not going to go over the whole card for Sunday like I did for the Saturday card, but we'll go over some of the headline or some of the more entertaining fights on there. So headlined by Dylan Dennis versus Tony Ferguson. That's the one different matchup. I think it's New York versus LA there instead of New York and London or LA and Sao Paulo, but it's a fun fight if it happens. I don't know if Dylan Dennis will make it there. He not very reliable, that guy, but he's not the one that dropped out of the KSI fight that just fell through last week. So maybe he's going to be there, maybe Tony Ferguson will bounce back, but he's another guy. He's lost 7 or 8 in a row, just not looking good. And then we have 2 UFC vets, Devin Clark taking on former title challenger Thiago Santos. Santos has looked really bad lately. Ever since his fight with John Jones where his knees just completely went out on him, he just has not been the same fighter. So I don't know what to expect. Devin Clark, he's explosive, but he's kind of chinny. You don't know with that guy. And then we have Ovin St. Preux taking on Alexander Gustafsson. And this one, 2 former title challengers, 2 guys way past their prime. I think Gustafsson should win, but OSP, he's weird. He kind of freezes guys up in front of him. It could be a bad fight. And then my favorite fighter from my childhood, Uriah Hall, he captivated me on The Ultimate Fighter with his spinning back kick knockout of Adam Sella. His knockout on the ground of, what was the guy's name? I won't be able to remember his name. The guy that he knocked out from being on his back. And then his knockout of Bubba McDaniel. He was just an absolute nightmare on that show. But Uriah Hall and his karate style is coming back, taking on Douglas Lima. It should be a fun striking fight if Uriah Hall's firing. I think we're going to see a more entertaining Uriah Hall here, but I don't know. A lot of these fighters might just be doing it for the paycheck, might have signed up and not expected this to ever come to fruition, and might not be taking it too serious. I have a feeling that may be the case for a lot of these big names on here because they've been retired for so long, and GFL is going to throw them a contract like that. I don't know. But yeah, so I've really crapped on GFL this year. I'm glad that they do have an event coming out. They have everything lined up. It's good for their roster. It's the best card they could have put on for their roster. I assume Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold will be on the second part of the regular season because they guaranteed that fight as well, but that's not on here. But yeah, if they can set up this broadcast deal correctly and get a service where it's easily accessible, it's free. You need to make it free to view. You can't put it behind a paywall the first year. You have to make it free. No pay-per-view, none of that. I think they need to go on YouTube. I really do. You have such a negative stigma. It's so hard to come into the game as a new promotion. Just do YouTube. Get the ad revenue if you need to from YouTube. But do that to get the name out there because you're going to take a loss this year. It's not about making money the first year unless this whole thing is just a cash grab for GFL and they're just seeing how many times they can grab that cash. I hope that's not it. But if they go on DAZN, that's not going to be great. In the U.S., only at like 100,000 subscribers. I know it's a lot bigger overseas, but not great if they go with DAZN over here. The only start-out company that was able to do the paywall and succeed has been BKFC, and they have a very low paywall at $4.99 and like one pay-per-view a year that's $50. So they've got it figured out. I hope GFL does the right thing. Up until this fight announcement, though, they've shown me nothing that they will do the right thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them go to a streaming service that nobody uses or that, like a Triller or something, and they say we're a pay-per-view, $15 an event or something. I would not be surprised to see something like that. I don't even know if Triller's still around, just something similar to that. I hope that's not what we see. I hope we see something amazing. I hope that they just make it available to the masses, because if you're on YouTube that first year and it takes off, and towards the end of the playoffs, your last couple events say, next year we're going to be streaming on HBO. Next year we're going to be streaming on ESPN Plus or Fox Sports 1 or wherever you're going to be streaming. But don't lock yourself into a market that limits the views that you can get right away. That's not the route GFL needs to go. They need to get as much exposure as possible. People need to be able to see what their idea is, because PFL, I think a big problem with them is the exposure, and they're on ESPN Plus, great platform for MMA. I know a lot of the MMA media shits on it. I think Ariel Helwani, if you or any of the boys ever tune into this, I think what your guys' problem is, you're in New York City, huge, the servers are just overwhelmed. Me and my buddy were talking, we live in rural Ohio. ESPN Plus never crashes for us. The only time it did was 313, the Alex Pereira pay-per-view with Ankalaev, and that crashed for everybody, but it's a good platform. Anyways, moving on from that, PFL, their problem, even though they're on ESPN Plus, they didn't market it at all. And then it got so convoluted with the super fights, with the Champion Series, with the tournament, with the regular season. You just didn't know what was going on. You couldn't keep up with PFL. So GFL needs to stick to their guns if that's what they're going to do. I really think 1 year on YouTube, they realign, they look at the roster they have, and they say, hey, we could put on a pay-per-view quality card, not a pay-per-view, but just a great card once a month with the roster that we have. Headline it by some old guys until we get the young guys in. Obviously, you locked yourself in, or you backed yourself into a corner with this season thing, with this team thing that they have working for them. I don't love it, but we'll see. It could end up being fun. I just don't think if the fighters aren't all about being on the team and all about the team, then it's not really anything. It's just a bunch of guys going out and fighting, and their scores being added up as one. And no fighters fight for themselves. They might fight for their gym, for their coach, but they're fighting for themselves. They're not fighting to get team points, and that's just I think it's going to be kind of messy there. I don't think we're going to see a big connection on the show with fighters and their teammates or fighters and their team. It's going to be just more we need to market the fights, and I hope they realize that after 1 year and move on to just a good promotion with a good roster and make it happen. One great card a month is better than a shitty program that's putting on fight after fight for 3 or 4 months and then nothing for 8 because people forget about you. And then the next season comes around. If next season's not as good as the first one, then you're shit out of luck and your product's dead. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with the GFL, but that's the fights we got. That's where we're at now. They have not announced a broadcast deal yet, but yeah, GFL. And then if you're still watching, UFC has just announced 316 headliner Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili for the title rematch. O'Malley's trying to get his title back. And then in the co-main, we got Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison challenging for the bantamweight title in the women's division. Also, UFC Kansas City main event, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree has been canceled. So, new main event has been made somewhat short notice. We have Ian Gary taking on Carlos Pracha. Going to be a banger, guaranteed. Cannot wait for that one. So, that's all I got for you. GFL fight announcements, A+. Proud of you. Good work. Everything else, that's all I got for you. Thank you for tuning in. Another episode of Blood and Beer.